Hello and welcome to TA for Traders. It's Thursday the 16th of November. In this video we're going to look at the charts on the New Zealand dollar versus the US dollar, which in TradingView has the code NZDUSD. We'll see that the New Zealand dollar is approaching some key supports. Below there it looks pretty grim. New Zealand dollar's got negative momentum, and the only slight positives are that it's falling on lower volume and that perhaps there's a non-confirm on the short-term RSI. Let's look at those charts. So here we are on the weekly, so each candle represents 1 week's trade, and you can see straight away that the New Zealand dollar's back towards support levels, and that below there's a bit of a gap before the next supports, which are seen just below 66. The moving averages are all trading downwards and have created resistance on the upside. You can see that the 200 week created the resistance which halted the advance in July. And that shortly, probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks, the 20 will cross the 50 in a downward bearish cross, which could actually give the push to the downside. Momentum on this weekly chart is negative. You can see the RSI in a solid downtrend and is presently at 36.73, and also the MACD short term below the longer term as they track below zero, again indicative of negative momentum. On the daily picture, you can see that today we're lower again, testing the supports that were seen at the end of October. I'll give you the exact levels for those supports on my support resistance slide, which I'll show you in a couple of minutes. You can see that the moving averages are all negative. They're all moving down. We've had a negative cross on the 50 crossing the 200, and we did have the 20 crossing the 50 back in August. So they've all kind of been borne out as bearish indicators as the markets move lower, and you can see on numerous occasions that these moving averages are acting as a resistance, which has been the case all this week with the 20-day. Momentum wise, the RSI's dips back down. It did look like we were potentially getting a non-confirmation, but that's been ruled out now as we track lower. RSI presently 34.63, and the MACD, the short term, has gone back below the longer term as they are again drifting and they're below zero. The only thing of potential interest here is that you can see the volume, you can see it faded out, but there's a downtrend on the volume, which when we're in a drifting market like we are now, it's not coming off on great volume. If it had been high volume, it would have been a concern, and one would really expect the supports to fail. But because it's coming off on low volume, there is a chance that if any buying pressure comes in, it'll soon reverse. So be aware of that. And moving on to the 4 hour. So here each candle represents 4 hours of trade. Again, the moving averages are in negative. The 20 has created a bearish cross with the 50. That was a couple of days ago. We then moved up to the resistance of that 50. That subsided, and now both those moving averages will be resistance to the upside. Momentum, we did have a slight non-confirmation, but it's a critical level now. If we actually move any lower on the spot or on the RSI over the next couple of 4-hour sessions, that will break that non-confirmation, so be aware of that. Again, the volume has lowered as we've come off, so keep your eye on the volume as well. MACD is indicative of negative momentum, with the short term actually just dipping again below the longer term and shouting out sell for the New Zealand dollar. Right, looking at those support and resistance levels, there's resistance at the downtrend in 20-day, 68.96, and then the 50 from the 4-hour, 69.10, with the key support seen at the low 68.314 of 31st of October and 68.18, the low of the 27th of October. So that's been TA for traders having a look at the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Doesn't look all that bright for the New Zealand dollar. The key conclusions are that we're approaching key supports. We've got downside pressure from the moving averages. There's negative momentum. And the only slight positives are that the volume's declining on the decline. So is it stalling? And also there's a possible non-confirmation on the 4-hour on this slide, but again you need to look at that, look at those levels very closely as we go into the next couple of 4-hour sessions, because if it declines further after 12 o'clock today, that will bring the RSI down and it will look really bad then, and it's going to really test those supports. Thanks for watching. Please do remember these videos are my opinion and they're not an investment recommendation.